Hey, good morning. Welcome to Life on Love. It is Friday, and that means it's time for Life on Love. 10 a.m. here on the West Coast. Hope you're having a beautiful Friday wherever you are. Welcome you to the program. My name is Charles Hall, Rev Charles Hall. I'm the Associate Minister at Center for Spiritual Living here in Palm Desert. And I'd like to welcome you, our members and friends from all over the place who are joining in this morning. So grateful that you're here and participating in this morning's program. It's Friday. I love to leap into the weekend time, our Friday afternoon and the weekend with some inspiration from Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind. And then I kind of unpack that a little bit as generally the format of the program here. And of course, and always love to hear from you jumping in and sharing your thoughts and insights. We're going to talk about thinking constructively today. And I know that's a topic that's wide enough to drive a truck through, but we're going to unpack it and see how it applies to each one of us. And I'd love to hear from you as we get into this. Any ideas or inspirations that arise from your standpoint. I just love to know that you're out there. It's always good in this day and age to know we're connected. And, there's something a little awkward about speaking into a little camera. But when I look down and see that you're with me, I love that. And so we can hear the words of Ernest Holmes. I'll share some wisdom. You can share some wisdom, ask any questions, and we'll just dive in. Life on Love. So here we go. Thinking constructively. How important a time is it now to think constructively? Well, not just now. I've kind of gotten into the habit of saying, how important is it now too? But when's it not important to think constructively, right, gang? Excuse me. Thinking constructively builds a life. And I want to actually start from this standpoint before we get into hearing from Dr. Ernest Holmes, who, by the way, just celebrated his birthday. I think I saw it was his 146th birthday, 136, something like that this last week. So we're so grateful for the wisdom and the blessing and the insight. A real mystic, what he dove deep into his own soul, deep into universal truth, and emerged with so many beautiful writings and insights and all that beautiful stuff that we get to benefit from. And I know it's fundamental to my life. I've been around these teachings for just about my entire life, for almost 40 years. And I'm so grateful to have it. And I know it's changed the lives of many and help us navigate through this crazy thing called humanity, through this wild ride called the human condition. So happy birthday to Dr. Holmes. Wherever you're dancing in the eternal light right now, grateful for you, pal. Thank you so much. We love you. So here's where I want to start, is noticing how much easier it is to deconstruct than construct. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about in consciousness, because oftentimes deconstructing a thought pattern can be challenging. But also, can it be as easy as it is to deconstruct something in the world? Let me just give you a couple of examples. To construct a house is much easier than to destroy a house. You get a crew of people out there, and nails and screws and things need to be put in a meticulous manner, a place for them to, hold the house together. You got to build the foundation first. You got to pour some concrete. You got to bring in the lumber. You got to hammer the nails, or, nail them in, however you do with the air gun. And you have to build this thing. And it takes some time. It takes some skill. But I could go in with a sledgehammer and destroy that house. I could go rent a bulldozer and quickly learn how to drive that sucker and take that puppy down with the quickness. The alcoholic spends a lifetime building a sober life. One drink can destroy years of construction. In a relationship, we spend years building trust with somebody else. I spend years building trust with my daughter that I'm a safe place, that I'm a safe place for her to come to. It could take one moment of misjudgment, of bad judgment, to destroy that trust. It's much more challenging to construct something than to destroy it. In a love relationship, one moment of bad judgment can destroy years of constructing this beautiful trust the two people have together. Now, why do I bring that up? Because it takes a tremendous amount of discipline. It takes a tremendous amount of awakeness. It takes a tremendous amount of internal desire and passion to think constructively. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to hear from Ernest Holmes in a little bit. But we can be very lazy and think destructively. Without any real intention, without any real discipline, real sense of purpose to build something, which again takes discipline, it takes awakeness, it takes awareness, it takes, let's say when we talk about the difference between being awake and asleep, an awake life is one where we think constructively to build something up. And we talk about being asleep when we destroy something. Now, I want you to think about this from a personal standpoint. Where in your life, where in my life am I awake and thinking constructively to actually build something? And can I have the wherewithal to be awake enough to see where I'm asleep? And sometimes other people around us help us see that. Hey, you need to step up your game here. It looks like you're asleep. And that's what a coach does too. I come from the sports background. A coach says, hey, you're not good enough dribbling, basketball terms, dribbling with your left hand. You need to spend time working on dribbling with your left hand so you can be as good dribbling with your left hand as you are with your right hand. Then you have a greater versatility. You can do more. Your skill set expands. So I could have a wonderful thinking constructively in the area of my financial status and conditions and have some mastery over that, but I'm horrible and asleep when it comes to relationships and wonder why I'm alone, feel alone all the time and empty. Got all the money in the world in the bank, but no one to share it with, no one to go spend that money with, no one to go on that trip with. So the process of practicing principle continues to ask us to wake up, to think constructively, to build something. And again, it's a challenge to build something, but the reward in building something, the fulfillment that comes with that. The fulfillment that comes when when my daughter trusts me so much that she falls asleep with her head on my lap because she knows it's a safe place. When she knows that I can just go drop her off at the first tee for her golf sessions and doesn't need me to stick around, kind of breaks my heart, doesn't even want me to stick around anymore. Leave, Dad. Because she knows I put her in places that are safe. And how fulfilling the experience of that is, of constructing that trust. For those of you that have built houses, I haven't built a house. I've built a church. But how wonderful it is to sit back in the chair of that church and say, look at the activity that's happening around here. The relationships that are created, the love that is shared. There's a fulfillment in that. There's a pride, not in that worldly pride, but in that spiritual sense of pride, of accomplishment, of fulfillment. For those of you that have built a house, how does it feel to walk into your house that you built, or at least participated in the idea of building with construction workers and things, and know that that is your house, that you built that house? And to sit back in your chair at the end of the day or lay down in your bed and know that you're in your kingdom, know that you're in your queendom. There's a fulfillment that rests there. Just want to consider that and invite us to consider that it does take a greater discipline. It takes a greater awareness and awakeness, principle-based life to build something. But that's where the fulfillment lies. And I know both sides of it, gang. I know what it is to constructively build something, and I know what it is to destroy something. And most of us can probably look back on our lives and share a similar story. One of the things I think I see most joy in is the alcoholic that is in recovery. I see a Facebook post or something else, 36 years ago I met Bill W. or 35 years ago I had my last drink. And the joy that you can set, like, thank God I got my life back. Thank God I found my life, which is a fulfillment there, right? An experience of real joy and fulfillment. Or other things that we've built. Someone that's, redone the engine of a car. That takes time and skill. But you could stick a piece of dynamite in that engine and destroy it. Where's the fulfillment in that? Let's think constructively and hear from Ernest Holmes and unpack this a little bit. And again, any inspirations, any thoughts? I know I haven't really posed a question out there to you today, but I'd love to hear from you in any way that you'd like to share. So this essay is called Constructive Thoughts Fill My Day, with the words of Dr. Ernest Holmes. When Jesus spoke of being, quote unquote, lifted up from the earth, he meant that which is human. He meant that which is human about us must. When Jesus spoke of being lifted up from the earth, he meant that which is human about us must consciously become united with the divine. In ancient writings, the earth stood for the lowest form of life, while heaven represented the highest. Therefore, being lifted up from the earth means uniting earth with heaven. This daily lifting up of our thought is necessary if we wish to so unite ourselves and everything we are doing with the divine spiritual power that flows through us into all our acts. He continues, I now turn to the spirit within me. This can be all of our prayer. I know that as it is close to me, it is what I am, and it governs my life in harmony and in peace. And I know that through me, it brings joy and happiness to everyone I meet. Through the power of this indwelling spirit, I am a blessing to myself and to others. I lift up my whole mind to the realization that the Spirit of God is within me, and that this perfect spirit is my real self. I invite the Spirit to direct my thoughts and acts, and I believe that it is doing so. I expect new ideas to stimulate my imagination and direct me into new ways of doing things. I invite and expect new circumstances and situations. And I know that as they present themselves, the intelligence within me will accept them and act upon them. I know that the divine presence within me makes itself known to every person I meet, to every situation I encounter. I know that it brings life and joy and happiness to everything and everyone. Ernest Holmes. I love his prayers, those affirmative I statements. Eager Guest says, really appreciate this word constructive. It suggests so much. It's not often used by Holmes and Science Mind generally. It is a very powerful word. It's a powerful word. constructive. It also means creative, generative, life-giving, building something. You know, I think of Dr. Joe, not to speak on his behalf, but hearts back to you, Megan Van Dyke. You know, he spent years building something at the Center for Spiritual Living Palm Desert. I would imagine not, and Dr. Joe, if you're listening, please weigh in. Tell me if I'm barking up the right tree here. But he's generally enthusiastic about this point where he gets to retire sometime soon. That took time to build that with his partner, to build that so that he could be able to spend, you know, the final years of his life, whatever that looks like, doing what he wants to do, where he wants to do it. I know he's done that at Center for Spiritual Living Palm Desert too. But it takes time to construct that, to build that. And we ought to bless that about him. And where it leaves us as well, that we have an opportunity to continue to build something at Center for Spiritual Living Palm Desert and with our friends all over the world. Because our reach at CSLPD is no longer simply local, it's global. We see from our feedback that we touch people everywhere. And we have another stretch going forward, another opportunity to continue to build an extraordinary, magnificent, inclusive community where all are welcome. Because we focus on principle and we focus on constructive. We focus on thinking constructively, living constructively, building something, building a community that works for each one of us. A community that works for you, a community that works for me, and the you I'm talking to is you. And I have no idea what your personal beliefs about this are or that are, but we're talking about building a beloved community and the powerful opportunity that we also have going forward. For our beloved Center for Spiritual Living Palm Desert, the opportunity to continue on the shoulders of Dr. Tom Costa, on the shoulders of Dr. Joe Hooper, on the shoulders of all the beautiful practitioners and ministers that have, and congregants and members that have put blood, sweat, and tears into the building of this community, that we have the opportunity to continue to stand on their shoulders and contribute our own blood, sweat, and tears, our own hugs and our own joy, our own smiles. Together, we're going to do this. Together, we build a house. You know, I think about, is it the, forgive me if I'm, the Quakers, who, you know, as a community, when they build a new house or build a new barn, just watching them do that, that it takes each one of them have a particular and specific role in building that, whatever it might be. The actual construction, food prep, farming, harvesting, whatever it might be. A team is constructive, and we have an opportunity to continue to construct something, to build another wing in consciousness of this big, magnificent mansion that we live in. Another wing in consciousness of this beautiful home that's already been created. Another wing in consciousness of our center, of our home. To think constructively. I'm going to read this first paragraph again. I think it's particularly potent. The whole thing is, before we're done, I'm going to read the whole thing again. But I really hope you're with me on this, the power and the importance of what it takes to build something up. To build something up. When Jesus spoke of being lifted up from the earth, he meant that which is human about us must consciously become united with the divine. In ancient writings, the earth stood for the lowest form of life, while heaven represented the highest. Therefore, being lifted up from the earth means uniting earth with heaven. This daily lifting up of our thought is necessary if we wish to so unite ourselves and everything we are doing with the divine spiritual power that flows through us and into all our acts. First in heaven, then on earth. And how will it look if daily we take our earthly mind and we take time to turn our attention inward? And here, even the words of Ernest Holmes as a launching pad, and elevate ourselves into that consciousness of heavenly awareness, of that spiritual unity, of oneness, of construction, daily, to marry ourselves to that elevated thought. And then harvest that, like reaching up to pick an apple, that heavenly, that juicy, delicious apple off the tree, and bring it down and eat of it to nourish our own bodies, to reach for the stars and pull that star down to earth and be inspired by that brilliant, bright light, to illuminate our own mind, illuminate our own awareness, illuminate our own consciousness, to create that heaven here on this earth. But to the extent that we stay in the mist of the swirling of so many different human thought, and thank God we're all different. Variety is such a beautiful thing. It's what makes the mosaic of humanity so special and precious. And yet sometimes we can get caught up in that just that low level stuff that where hate comes from and less than comes from and all of these things that don't feel good come from. But if we go up to that unified field, as it's been called, and this is principle, to go up to heaven, where there's an enlightenment, where there's a light, and commune with that, and have it be our daily bread. Our day is lifted. Our day is exalted. Your day, that you are not a house divided, that you are that unified field, that I am, and that from there we build something. We construct something, a day. We construct a day today that is a day that we can lay our head down at the pillow at the end of the night and feel good about. There are plenty of days when I lay my head on the pillow and I could have, I want to, be a better father, or I could have said more of a kind word there, and I missed the mark in that particular area, and I want to learn from that. But to the extent that I continue to desire to consciously construct a life, to build a life, the opportunities to be present and meet those moments, whereas before I could have been disappointed with myself that I missed the mark, the more awake I am, the more I can meet those moments with an enlightened awareness, with an awakeness, with an understanding that I'm here to construct something, not destruct something. I want to read these I statements from Ernest Holmes again. I now turn to the spirit within me. Again, I invite you to be this prayer to be yours as well. This is where spiritual practice happens, gang. It's not over there, and it's not somebody else's job to do their work. It's my job to do mine. I do it here. And then as I wake up here, I actually see a different world out there. We've heard this over and over, I'm sure, but as we wake up here, we literally begin to see it transforms our psyche, our thinking patterns, our mind into seeing things differently, because the eyeballs are informed by what's behind them. I now turn to the spirit within me. I know that it is as close to me. I know that it is close to me. It is what I am. And it governs my life in harmony and in peace. And I know that through me, it brings joy and happiness to everyone I meet. Through the power of this indwelling spirit, I am a blessing to myself and to others. I lift up my whole mind to the realization that the Spirit of God is within me, and that this perfect Spirit is my real self. I invite the Spirit to direct my thoughts and acts, and I believe that it is doing so. I expect new ideas to stimulate my imagination. I expect new ideas to stimulate my imagination and direct me into new ways of doing things. I invite and expect new circumstances and situations. And I know that as they present themselves, the intelligence within me will accept them and act upon them. I know that the divine presence within me makes itself known to every person I meet, to every situation I encounter. I know that it brings life and joy and happiness to everything and everyone. Quick commercial break. Join me for 10 weeks in doing exactly this. You want to learn how to think constructively, like really dive into it? Beyond Limits, we're pushing it back a couple weeks because I want everybody, we had a few modifications to the process here. We're starting on Monday, February 8th, and we're offering it on a love offering basis. We want everybody to be there. 10 weeks for 2.5 hours a week, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific time. February 8th, 10 straight weeks, consecutive weeks. To dive in exactly to this. To know that that after that class, to know. So we're talking 20 hours total over 10 weeks, 25 hours. To know that the Spirit does indwell, how to think constructively, and to build a life that you only dream of maybe right now. Love offering. If you can share 25 a week, share 25. If you want to share 50 a week, share 50. If it's only 5, then it's 5. So be it. I want you to go on this journey with me, though, to do exactly this. Constructive thoughts. He doesn't say, I just think constructively. Ernest Holmes says, constructive thoughts fill my day. Think about that for a minute. That as you're going through the day, constructively, like you're constantly inspired. That's what we're going to be diving into Beyond Limits. Jeff's got the information up there. Call the center, 760-346-4649, or cslpalmdesert.org. Register through the website. It's going to be virtual. We're going to be recording it. We're going to be presenting it from the sanctuary at CSL Palm Desert. You can join from wherever. I want you to join. If you have a pod that you're with, I invite you to sit with your pod. You know, social distance in a house or in a park or whatever, and tune in. I mean, the internet's everywhere now. Or with your spouse or partner. And whether you've taken Beyond Limits before, do it again. I think now is a particularly important time to take Beyond Limits. It's called Beyond Limits. How beautiful is that? David Flynn. By wisdom a house is built, and by understanding it is established, and by knowledge the rooms are filled with precious and pleasant riches. Proverbs 24:34. Woo! That's rich, bud. By wisdom. Can we do that one more time? Can we go back and then see? By wisdom a house is built, and by understanding it is established, and by knowledge the rooms are filled with precious and pleasant riches. Proverbs. How cool is that? Thank you, David. What's Jafon have to say? My brother. Many blessings to Rev Charles. We are called to move beyond the limited ideas we've created. We are called to soar. Absolutely. That's what we're going to do in Beyond Limits, and that's the invitation for today. Thank you, folks, for weighing in. I'm going to read this one more time, and then we're going to wrap today up. If you've got any other comments, I want to hear them. Please take the opportunity, though. I invite you, I really encourage you to take the opportunity that right after we're done with the program today, to go call the office, 760-346-4649, or jump on cslpalmdesert.org and register for the class. Love offering only. We're pushing it out 2 weeks because we want as many people as possible to be in there. Take the 10-week journey with me. All right, we're going to wrap up with the words of Dr. Ernest Holmes. Unless I see any more comments up there, I want to make sure and help you weigh in as well. When Jesus spoke, quick drink of water. When Jesus spoke of being lifted up from the earth, again, that's in quotes, and I think it's important to understand that's in quotations. Lifted up from the earth. He meant that which is human about us must consciously become united with the divine. In ancient writings, the earth stood for the lowest form of life, while heaven represented the highest. There's a key word in there, a couple key words. In ancient writings, see, we could go down a whole workshop on this. In ancient writings, the earth stood for, not was, stood for the lowest form of life, while heaven represented the highest. We're talking metaphysics here, gang. Imagery to help us deepen our own awareness and consciousness. In ancient writings, the earth stood for the lowest form of life, while heaven represented the highest. Therefore, being lifted up from the earth means uniting earth with heaven. This daily lifting up of our thought is necessary if we wish to so unite ourselves and everything we are doing with the divine spiritual power that flows through us and into all our acts. I now turn to the spirit within me. I know that it is close to me, it is what I am, and it governs my life in harmony and in peace. And I know that through me it brings joy and happiness to everyone I meet. Through the power of this indwelling spirit, I am a blessing to myself and to others. I lift up my whole mind. I lift up my whole mind. Not a house divided, the whole house, the whole thing. WHOLE, whole. To the realization that the Spirit of God is within me, not someplace else, but right here, and that this perfect Spirit is my real self. I invite the Spirit to direct my thoughts and acts, and I believe that in doing so, I expect new ideas to stimulate my imagination and direct me into new ways of doing things. I invite and expect new circumstances and situations, and I know that as they present themselves, the intelligence within me will accept them and act upon them. I know that the divine presence within me makes itself known to every person I meet, to every situation I encounter. I know that it brings life and joy and happiness to everything and everyone. That's you and I today. Let's be about it, shall we? That's a strong invitation from me to you and from Dr. Holmes to me. Let's be about it today. We continue to be so grateful for the magnificent ways that you financially support the center. Again, you can go to the website, cslpalmdesert.org. You can call the same number. You know what you can do right now is you can go to the website, register for Beyond Limits, and know that that's going to be on a love offering basis weekly. You can also make a donation to the center right now to continue support and power the powerful work that we do every day at 10 a.m. and more. And Dr. Joe has shared, and I think Jeff could maybe weigh in on this. I think at this point, we've done over 300 episodes, 300 daily shows since the COVID came around. How cool is that? And your donations not only help keep our physical building in wonderful shape and getting it back into shape when we're going to get back together, whenever that is, in a few months, hopefully. We're praying it up. We don't know exactly yet. Helps us keep the building in shapes, helps keep salaries paid, helps us with this virtual technology in all the ways that we bring our message to you. So please financially contribute to the center. Eager guest, you're welcome. We appreciate you. But yeah, please call the office, 760-346-4649 to donate, register for Beyond Limits, or CSL Palm Desert to donate and to register for Beyond Limits there as well. We appreciate you and all the ways that you financially contribute to supporting this center and the work that we're up to. And again, gang, the next era is being ushered, the next era of our center is being ushered in. We have the opportunity together to stand on the shoulders of Dr. Tom, to stand on the shoulders of Dr. Joe, and to create a new wing of consciousness for our center that we will create together based solely in principle, in the laws, in universal laws. And the way we're going to do it is together, you and I together. I'm so grateful for you. Much peace, much love. Make today the best day ever. See you next week.